Yeah, wish a Stephanie. I'm falling off my chair. No, just kidding. My tripod's just messed up. I think I have broken yet another tripod. Awesomeness. And these are the technical issues that come with the YouTube channel known as Changing Scripts. Hi guys! How's it doing? How's it doing? Wow, I have lost all vocabulary completely and utterly. Ah! Hi. Yeah. Okay. I have to document this. This is another one of those, oh man, I suck moments. Here we go. I cannot get comfortable. I'm this isn't a regular chair. I'm sitting on one of those yoga ball thingies. So if I can do this, it's because I'm sitting on a yoga ball, not because I'm super flexible and don't mind bouncing up and down on a ridiculous chair. Okay. I'm trying to read longer texts. I'm trying to go from the individual radicals that I've been playing with for months to some very quick words, mostly location words that I've been looking at for months in the wild, to longer stretches of text. I keep opening up different texts, wanting to start to use them to start reading, because you should be working on your main goal the whole time, not just when you think you're ready. That's the methodology, that's the ideology in reading the whole time. Okay, so I open up the graded reader and my heart starts to bounce. For some reason, the Renee song, because I put it's a spacing issue. I just had a flash because I made that. I copied it over into Google Doc. I put extra spaces. I put the pinion. I put extra spaces. And now I'm starting to put spaces between the characters, which are artificial, but they're my training wheels. So maybe it is a spacing issue. Because regular Chinese, let me pull up a website to show you. I'm sure you already know. If you're watching this, it seems like more people who know how to or are familiar with the language are watching this. Let's pull up China Daily. So you guys are much more familiar with how the language looks and what it means than I am for the most part, it seems like. Although I'm going to put the survey down below. There's still a few days left in the pre-conference survey for me to find out about who you are and all that kind of good stuff. It's a good time for me to reflect on where the channel's been and where the channel's going. No, I have gone to the Chinese version. Sorry, the English version of China Daily. Fuzzies. Okay, I'm going to pause for a second and I'm going to find some Chinese and I'll be right back. Okay, success. So I'm going to awkwardly turn the camera around on my broken tripod and show you what I mean here. Okay, so this still freaks me out. Like even just the title. Okay, the title's not so bad because it's pretty big. But this stuff here, totally. Fuzzies. Okay, this stuff here, although this is bulleted pointed, so that doesn't actually work. My tripod has sabotaged my example. Meh. Let me get a full article up here. Here we go. I have no idea what it's about. Like this. This totally and completely messes with me. Why? Why does it mess with me? And I feel like this is a blessing and a curse all at once. Sorry, trying to readjust the tripod. I feel like it's a blessing and a curse all at once. Why? Because one, I have very strong memories of having problems reading in English when I was at school. It's funny that I'm planning a European trip right now because I remember the word Europe. I clearly remember from second or third grade when we're sitting in our reading circle where the whole class was in this giant circle and each person was reading like a sentence or two sentences or something like that. And it was my turn. And I was, of course, super bored with the content because what people write for children is super boring, or at least it was in the 1970s, which is when this was. Yes, I am that old. So anyway, so I was really bored, and so when I was bored at school, I would put, this is so embarrassing, but I would put the book that we were reading from up like this. Oh, wait, I can show you if I had a book handy. I'll use the old graded reader that I never finished. Okay, so I would put the book up like this, and I would do like a little puppet show with my two hands here, because the books were so big and clunky that they stayed there without me holding it, but right now this one can't. So it would stay there, and then I would like use my two hands to like make a puppet show on the top part. And so yeah, so I was doing that while most of the kids were reading their part. And so when they got to me, I didn't know where we were or what page we were on, but my neighbor put me on the right page, and the teacher kept saying the first word, Europe, Europe, Europe. And I was like, okay, Europe. So I kept looking for a U. You know where this is going. Europe doesn't start with the U, it starts with an E. So I had a really hard time finding the place to start reading at, and eventually I think my neighbor must have helped me, or my teacher might have skipped over me, or what have you. I was such an introverted child that I think my teachers thought I was stupid. There's a whole lot of stuff going on there that, yeah, doesn't relate to language learning necessarily, but yeah, I was just bored. I was super duper bored. But the point was that I had a hard time with the word Europe until I didn't. And I had a hard time with reading until I didn't. I had a hard time with writing too, because we moved from New York to Pennsylvania after the school in Pennsylvania in my grade had already learned script. Do you remember script? Ugh, I hate writing in script. So all the kids already knew it, and I was kind of thrust into it without any of the step-by-step stuff. And they're like, you'll pick it up as you go, which doesn't happen. Well, I guess it did, but I had to do a lot of practice at home. Yuck. But yeah, so I don't know. So I remember every part of the learning process for learning English was excruciating. And reading, I've always had issues with lines with reading, now that I think about it. Yeah, I've always had issues with line. I bounce when I think. So I'm bouncing on the ball right now. I've always had line issues. If things are too close together, I am one of those people that will use some sort of other paper to read line by line, because if it's too small or it's too close together, I will go from the end of one line to the wrong next line and things like that. And I do have a slight spatial issue. I did get tested much later on when I was an adult. But by then I got tested when I was doing the last few years of my undergraduate degree, because I was doing engineering, and I noticed that my spatial issues were affecting my engineering classes. Yeah, so that was an issue. But at that point, I was in my late 20s, and I had already developed so many survival skills for these cognitive functions, learning functions, study functions, whatever. I had developed so many skills that I could work around the blocks that were happening, so they would not deem me having a learning disability, which came with benefits like time to take my excruciating physics tests and things like that. But they did notice that there were things that were incredibly difficult for me to do, or that I couldn't do spatially. So I wonder if this is part of the deer in headlights things that's happening with the characters. There's also like a lack of recognition, but I don't really freak out when I don't recognize language. Again, I've been around language I don't understand my whole life, literally my whole life. So that's not a thing for me. So maybe it's the space thing, maybe it's the line thing, maybe that's what's uncomfortable. Maybe I have to, while I'm learning the language, doctor all of my learning materials to have extra spaces. Maybe I do need to use different things to move from line to line, that kind of thing. Maybe I need to do that. Ugh, I need more training wheels than I already have in the Chinese language. But I want to start reading sentences, even if it takes me a long time. I mean, that's something I'm going to start adding on post-conference next week. But I was kind of like looking at all the materials I have around the house to see what I might do that with starting next week, or do I need to go find something immediately after the conference to do that with? And I think I have the materials here. I think the last graded reader I showed you, thank you, Erica, that Erica recommended, I think that one's good. And they actually do have that thing that I showed you that goes from line to line. So that probably seems like the most organic choice. But it has me thinking about lines and why sentences in Chinese that I'm staring at right now. Can you see the look of fear on my face? I'm just like, see, it's starting out with Zhongguo, and I know that's China. But it thoroughly confuses me. The spacing thoroughly confuses me. Like, okay, in this paragraph that I just showed you a few minutes ago, I do see some commas, but generally speaking, commas and periods are not as frequent. It seems like sentences are much longer. And if you read Chinese fluently or well enough to answer this question, please answer the question in the comment below. Are sentences generally longer in Chinese than they are in English? Because it looks like it from the things I keep picking up and going, where is the end of the sentence? Where is the mental pause? Either in a comma or a period. Where is that? Where is that? Where is that? So it'd be interesting to get some feedback on that. But basically, I got to the comfort level of individual characters and phrases and things like that. And now I'm trying to approach sentences because it's so time to look at sentences. Again, even if it takes me a day to dissect one sentence and not necessarily remember every word of it, but I just want to start the process of reading. I want to get comfortable with reading. I got a really good idea of like an intensive course this week, and I don't think that's going to work out, but it got me thinking about what if I booked some online tutoring for a few sessions to try to work through the beginning of reading. I know I haven't touched any grammar yet, but to be quite honest with you, I learned grammar a lot better by seeing examples and piecing together the grammar myself with what I'm noticing in the grammar. I think because I played with writing, and I read a lot in English, and then I taught grammar a lot in my language classes when I was a language learning teacher. I think because of that, I see patterns in grammar a lot quicker than some other folks. So for me, I want to try reading and then notice the grammar and see if that can work. I can speak. I'm just gonna bounce again, and see if that can work. I've seen it already in some survival-ish kind of Chinese phrases and things like that, and I don't know. I just want to try that method and see if that works. That seems to stick with me better than doing grammar exercises or looking at charts and stuff like that. But that's after I get through with the spacing anxiety. And anxiety means that it stays, right? It doesn't stay. I look at it, it's there. I look away, it's gone. So it's certainly not anything that haunts me. It follows me around the room with the red door. Okay, so spacing. I have mental issues with spacing. That sounds so psychotic. But I just wanted to get that on video because that's an issue, and that's always been an issue, and I have to remember that things that came up in the language I can use are going to come up in the language I'm learning. And I'm not sure that that's something that we usually think about when we're learning a second language. And I'm not sure that's something that most of us are prepared about. And I don't think many people remember if they had any difficulties with the language that they maneuvered through life with before learning their second language. Do they remember the obstacles, if they had any, that they had, and do they assume those are going to transfer over? This is something I have not really thought about very much, although I did have one student when I taught in China last time in Nanjing who had what seemed like a speech impediment in English, but it was hard to tell because he was such a low level still. So it was hard to tell if he was just learning the pronunciation. Some people get pronunciation clearer sooner and some don't. And he was very, very functional and a hilarious human being and wonderful to be around. But he was kind of slurring more than others. So we were trying to figure out if that was a pronunciation issue or if that was just his sound, his vocal abilities. And we had a teacher who was bilingual and could speak Chinese, and so she was speaking with him in Chinese, and she said, no, he actually does that in Chinese too. I think he actually does have a speech impediment. So it's interesting that the things that we do in our primary languages before learning our second, third, or fourth, or whatever languages, seeps over into those languages. And is that something we think about? I don't know. I'm now trying to divert us from my line issue because I don't really know how to fix that. I can't fix it. I can't fix my brain. This is the brain I have. So there's that. There's my spacing issue. It's out in the wild. Do what you will with it. I'm not going to do anything until next week. I just wanted to document it because it's frustrating to want to be able to do something and to know that you learn best by doing something, but knowing that there's going to be an obstacle there before you even start. Yay, learning. All right, thank you. More soon.